mentoring little entrepreneurs, this might be kind of a funny topic for me, seeing as I don't have kids myself. It's just the time of year that I come into contact with kids far, far more than usual. I actually did my HDIP and I lasted all of 6 weeks in a teaching position. I have lectured to third level, but obviously they're not small kids. But this time of year I look after the shoebox appeal for Mayo in Ireland with another lady. So I'm in national schools, you're doing talks, you're meeting kids far more than you normally would. And it's such an eye-opener, even without your own kids, how different kids are from each other. And what put this topic into my head is the other day I met a 6-year-old, and she was just an uncannily clever 6-year-old. She was watching me sorting shoe boxes. We have to check every box that comes into us. So I'm talking about maybe 10,000 boxes in this county alone. And she was immediately able to point out workflows to me. She was like a mini production engineer. She said, if you don't move those boxes, Catherine, you have to walk too far and you're going to be slower. And if we turn them all this way, it's going to be faster to put them into cartons. And you can't do this, it's too slow. And why don't we put... And she had the whole thing off to a T. She absolutely blew me away. When I asked her age, I had to ask her twice, even though it was obvious by her size, obviously, that she was... not that old, but she just already had it. And I was talking to her mum later on. I was asking, have you got more of these little people at home? I'd almost give them jobs. Would there be any chance of taking them out of school? And it really put me to thinking that there are little mini entrepreneurs born all the time who just see things. They're maybe not interested in traditional toys. They just can see things. My own niece is 12 and she's very, very, very aware of the world, and she's also very aware of interactions, and she'll be watching people's how they interact with people, and she'll get the vibe, or why didn't they like that, or what just happened there. And she's been like that as well since she was 5 or 6. So people who are rearing kids but you're not entrepreneurial yourself, I'd say please find them somebody who is. It's an absolute gift to be born like that, able to see things, how you can make them go faster, how you can make them be more efficient. And hopefully they'll channel all that energy into being a social entrepreneur, or do something to change the world. But they're not, it's very hard for them in a family where there's nobody entrepreneurial, because their diet is without any of that inspiration. There's no point, cutting out jobs in the HSE or telling these kids that they'd like to be teachers or anything like that. I'm a teacher, no offence to teachers. I was a teacher for a very brief time. But it's very, very hard for a child like that to be inspired if they don't get to meet people who are next up the food chain to them in what they're interested in. So whatever it is that your kids are interested in, if they've any inclination towards thinking outside the box, etc., make sure that you find them somebody. Because honestly, there'll be somebody local like myself who's enthralled by them, who will take them under their wing, who'll let them come into work an odd time, who'll explain things to them. They can take in information at about 4 times the rate we can. This 6-year-old was absolutely knocking the socks off the 40-somethings because they just were doing what the person in front of them did. She was pausing to see, was that the cleverest way to do it? So for anyone with a child who's thinking outside the box, asking questions that you might not necessarily know the answer to, please send me a private message if I'm any help to you. But also find somebody local for them, if that's whatever business they're into. It could be farming, it could be tech, it could be anything. Don't just rely on the school to tell you, because you know better than anybody knows what they're interested in, what lights them up. 2 other young fellas stopped to ask me again, one like a store supervisor, what sort of loads are you fitting in here? Do you not think if you did this yet? And it's just fantastic to see that there's entrepreneurs at age 5. They are part born. I fully believe they're 90% of entrepreneurs have probably been like that through their whole childhood. The other 10% probably just spotted somebody who they were inspired by and they decided to have a go. So make sure that your little entrepreneurs are getting all the brain food that they need. There is bound to be somebody locally, if you're not into it yourself, who would absolutely love to teach them. Thanks, bye.